You know, I don't need a scientific study to tell me that there's healing benefits from creating art. And I'm sure you've experienced it too, right? So many times I have felt resistance or restlessness or even just like a heavy energy, that comes from maybe being overtired or maybe worn down from worry or, it could be something physical. It could be something rattling in my mind, right? Or emotions. But invariably, when I show up anyways, when I kind of push through that resistance and I start creating, all of a sudden that energy shifts. Now, there's a saying that I've heard many times, you probably have too, that where your attention goes, energy flows. Well, what I think happens here is that when we start creating our art, our attention is going on that and the energy starts flowing there. There are a couple other things that happen too. I think one is the fun of the discovery that comes with the spontaneity when we're playing around with different mediums and all of a sudden something comes up. There's also that delight and joy when we see beauty emerging right before us and we've been a part of that process of taking something that wasn't there and creating it. Well, this video, I'm going to share with you how we can take that healing aspect to a whole nother level. We're going to be working intentionally to create healing mandala art. And what I absolutely love about the stencils that I've designed for StencilGirl products is that they make it super easy and quick to get your basic mandala art drawn. This is really helpful for those moments when you're feeling exhausted, feeling that heavy energy, feeling resistance, feeling restless. You can pull out some paper, pull out a stencil or two, and get drawing it. And once that starts, you get things in motion, then it's hard to stop. And I know you know what that's like too. All right. How many times have you started creating and then next thing you know, if you've started in the evening, you're going long into the night, right? You don't want to stop. Well, that's why I call myself the instigator of soulful and creative living, because I like to instigate that creative process. So let's instigate some creative processing, right, with this video, but also let's bring in and work with that healing aspect. Now I'm going to show you 4 examples of healing mandala art that I've created. The first 2 were designed for friends. So this is a beautiful gift that you can create for your loved ones. And the other 2 are examples of healing art, mandala art, that I do along in sync with the full moon and the new moon. This first example was created for a friend of mine who had received an unexpected diagnosis. And you know what that feels like, right? When you learn about something that's not going just right in your body, it's very distressing, right? So I wanted to create and send my friend a mandala that has the energy of being grounded, right? That earthy element, but I also wanted it to also capture the healing properties of the heart chakra. So I have these stencils that are chakra stencils. It's the mandala symbols that represent those main energy centers that run up along the spine. And if you were to pick only one stencil, one chakra stencil to purchase that is really going to help in any healing circumstance, it would be the heart chakra. Because you see, the heart and the energy of love and compassion and kindness and forgiveness and surrender, all of that beautiful energy, that supports all healing intentions. It's like the universal healing center. All right, so that's the first one I want to show you. To create this mandala, I used the 4 Gates Mandala stencil and the Heart Chakra stencil. On the back side of the mandala, I wrote this message for my friend. So after addressing it to her, I wrote, "I made this mandala holding you in my heart. At the center is a 6-pointed star and 12 lotus petals that symbolize the heart chakra. Central to all healing is the power of love, loving kindness, self-compassion, forgiveness, and surrender. The gold details reflect how precious it is that we have access to this powerful energy center of the heart at any moment. The bronze-hued areas are the same gold paint mixed with the rich earth color of brown. This grounds us in our spiritual practices and supports us in bringing grace to our daily lives. The violet, green, blue textured area was created by sprinkling salt. After the salt dried, I rubbed off the coarse, caked-on layer to reveal a beautiful effect. The process of removing the salt felt like scraping sandpaper and showed me that the gritty moments in life give way to the most beautiful moments. Enjoy your mandala, sit with it, and discover your truths. The moment that she received this mandala happened to be the night before she had an appointment to meet with her doctor. And she called me and she said the timing of this couldn't be more perfect. She absolutely loved it. I mean, can you imagine receiving a gift like that? Well, you have the wonderful opportunity to create such gifts for your friends and your loved ones. All right, here's the next mandala I want to show you. This one was created for a friend of mine who I have so much admiration for. She is so wise and she has this just rich life of experiences and knowledge that she's accumulated over the years. But like all of us, we're human, and there are times when life presents us with things that are challenges, and this mandala is to support her in reconnecting with that wisdom that is within her. For this mandala, I used the Four Gates Mandala stencil and the Third Eye Chakra stencil. And here's the message that I wrote on the back of this mandala for my friend. So after addressing it to her, I wrote, "I held you in my heart as I co-created with Spirit on this healing mandala. At the center is the Third Eye Chakra, luminous and full of the divine, peaceful light of a dove. The central mandala floats in the green waters of the heart chakra. And surrounding this mandala is a channel, a violet pathway. Run your fingers along this violet path, traveling around the entire mandala. May it remind you that the divine spirit embraces you in every moment and in all situations. Meditate on this mandala when you seek a connection with the divine and you're looking for support and tapping into your intuition and wisdom of the heart." So the third eye chakra is all about connecting with your sixth sense. It is the seat of your intuition. It's about being able to see things intuitively that we cannot normally pick up on with our regular vision. It's also one of the energy centers that connects us with the divine, along with the crown chakra. Again, I brought in the color green that we see as marked by the heart chakra, because again, I'm always weaving in that healing element of the heart whenever I can, because I know how powerful it is. Now, the next two mandalas I'm going to show you are examples from my Traveling by Moonlight series. This is a practice where I check in at the new moon and the full moon, and I create healing mandala art at that time. So the intentions around the full moon are usually healing intentions of something I want to release, let go of. At the new moon, the intentions are usually focused on something that I want to manifest. So something that I want to draw in to my life. Here is the mandala that I created at the full moon in Virgo. I worked with the Four Gates Mandala stencil. And then the glyphs, those symbols that you see, come from the Zodiac chart and the celestial body stencils. So I paid particular attention to what Zodiac sign we're in at the moment and learn from that archetype. Whether or not that archetype is active within you, whether it's your sun sign or you have a moon sign and a rising sign, and you have your own natal chart where there are a lot of different planets that really make up who you are. And each one really has an influence in a different area in your life. But even if you don't have a particular sign in your chart, we can still learn from it. These are archetypal. And at the full moon, we often feel a lot of tension. That can show up as being very emotional, whether we're weepy or whether we get snippy, whether anger bubbles up. And often those strong emotions are a signal that there's something that needs your attention. So as we're creating our art, it gives us an opportunity to quiet down, slow down, take a break from what's going on in our daily lives and tuning in and meeting ourselves where we're at and listening, really having a sacred conversation as we're creating our art. When it comes to learning from Virgo, Virgo has a tendency to be very critical. And I know this is true for so many people, even if Virgo isn't a strong influence in one's chart. That inner narrator that gets very judgy and critical, that is a characteristic of Virgos. Virgos are highly, and I know I'm a double Virgo, so I've really been so hard on myself. I've been working on that for years and I've come so far. In fact, I've cultivated an inner cheerleader and an inner nurturer and whatnot. But this is something we need to work on, right? I know firsthand it takes work. So I designed this full moon mandala to continue in cultivating that inner peace. So I went with that heart chakra stencil because I know that that's the power of the heart, showing myself compassion and understanding. And at the very center of this mandala, I took a really cute little piece of German scrap called Dresden, that the gold foil dove, and I glued that and put it in the center of that heart chakra. Other thing I'd like to point out here is when you look at that heart chakra, you see at the center it's a 6-pointed star. There is a triangle that's pointed upward and a triangle of equal size pointed downward. This represents the divine feminine and the divine masculine, two different qualities, right? One is very active and busy and focused on doing. The other one is more receptive. It's more about being. It's very intuitive. And the heart chakra here and this symbol shows us the harmony that comes when we balance both of those qualities. So here, my intention at the full moon in Virgo was to cultivate a peacefulness, inner peace, a loving kindness, and understanding. And the fourth mandala that I want to show you was created at the new moon in Pisces. I used the Four Gates Mandala stencil, the Sacral Chakra stencil, and the Zodiac chart and celestial bodies stencils. Now the new moon has very different energy than the full moon. The full moon tends to be very tense. The new moon, things have calmed down. And in fact, when you do your full moon work of letting go, that really sets you up for being really ripe for setting things into motion, setting intentions, doing that wish casting, looking ahead, and just having a real powerful moment of having clarity around what you want to draw in next in your life. At the Pisces full moon, I'm looking at that archetype of Pisces. Pisces is a water element. It's the symbol of the two fish. If you look to the tarot, this zodiac sign is connected with the moon. And the moon is all about our emotional body, all right? You know how the moon has this huge impact on the tides of the ocean? Well, we also have we're made up mostly of water, so we have this emotional effect as well with the moon. The sacral chakra is the second energy center. And if you look at the center of it, you can see a crescent moon there. And this energy center relates to our emotional body. So it's a perfect chakra to be working with Pisces. This is also the energy center of your creativity. So when you connect with your feelings and things get into flow, you can get into creative flow when you open up and you work with this. So even just creating this chakra art and working with some of the colors that are associated with this helps to open up and activate the energies of that energy center within you. So that's how the healing happens. The healing isn't just about what it is you need to release, it's also what you want to create. And that's what this chakra and this intention is all about. The So I came up with 2 intentions that I wanted to dedicate this mandala to. The first one ties in with the idea of the Pisces and the fish and going with the flow. So my intention is for each day, when I look at this mandala and I start my day, just connecting with it, just simply by sitting with it for a few moments and looking at it and beholding it. My first intention is that my day unfolds with grace, ease, and flow. And when I set that intention, it's amazing how different the day flows than when I don't set an intention like that. Now, my second intention with this relates to the archetype of Pisces. Pisces is known as the mystic and is highly psychic. So the question that I asked at this time is, what spiritual practices do I want to commit to? Do I want to recommit to? It might be meditation. It might be creating these mandalas twice a month and making this sacred time for myself and tuning into my intuition. It might be that I'm curious to start tracking my dreams, right, and doing some dream work. It may be that I'm curious to learn and dive in more with chakras. You might have an interest too, if you're asking this questions. You might be interested in learning more about chakras. You might be interested in learning more about astrology or tarot or some other divination. So what spiritual practices at this time do you want to learn more about? Where is your curiosity going to take you? And what practices do you want to cultivate? And pick one and do that for the next lunation. So that was the intention for this. For me, I wanted to recommit to my morning meditation because I was starting to skip it. And so I'm like, all right, I'm just going to give myself at least 10 minutes of just that beautiful quiet time, and then follow that with some journal writing. And that's the commitment that I made for myself. Now, you do not have to wait for a new moon or a full moon to create a healing mandala or to work with any of the chakras or the zodiac signs. You can explore them at any given moment. And in fact, what I recommend, if this is something that interests you, is that you, in the links below, you can download right now and get access to my Stencil reference guides. I have one of the chakras. I have one that has both the zodiac signs and the celestial bodies and the planets and all that, and some quick facts about each one, so you can get tuned into some of the essential qualities about them, and you can start working with these energies and the symbols and the colors and all that in your work now, and just tuning in and saying, all right, whether you're creating something for yourself or someone else, tuning in and say, what is showing up and what do I want to work on? And using these references to help you decide which stencils you'd like to work with. Now in this next segment, I want to show you how I use my stencils you can get from StencilGirl products. I always begin with that 4 gates mandala stencil to get the outline, and then I pull one of the chakra stencils to put in the center of it. So take a look at this. I'm using an ordinary number 2 hard pencil. You can see it's nice and sharp. But notice there, I wanted to demonstrate what it looks like when you don't put your finger there to hold it down. It can slip a little bit. So you just move your finger to hold down the stencil as you trace it. You see, with this design, there are all these different pathways, and you can pick and choose which ones you want to create your design. You can work with all of them. But if you have that innermost one, there you can see there are 3 paths in, that chakra stencil is not going to fit in the center. So we have an option. If we want to use that stencil with it, we can work with either that outer path or that second path. And I'm demonstrating here working with that second path. And you can see we can just work our way around, tracing that in. Now notice something here. I goofed. Look at that. I'm going up to that one. I have to admit, in that moment, I was thinking about something else. My mind was wandering and I lost my way on the path. It happens. That's why we work with pencil, and that's what erasers are for. They help us to get back on course and back on the path. All right, so we got the basic design. You can see I got a couple of spots where I need to just clean it up. I'm using an ordinary classic pink pearl eraser to clean that up. Here I'm using the straight edge of the stencil to line up and determine the center of the page. This helps me with centering this next stencil, which is the heart chakra stencil. And you'll see, if you're gonna look, that I lined up the lines in the top and bottom of those triangles. And that really helps to make a nice visual for getting it all lined up. And then you just take that pencil and you just trace along the stencil lines. This part is so easy that I often make it a meditation in and of itself, focusing in on my breath as I breathe in and out, working my way around and around, building the design, starting from the inside and working our way outward. Then I take a little straight edge, there's a miniature ruler here, and I fill in these gaps. Now within a stencil, there are these gaps. They're necessary in order for you to have the design be one whole piece. Otherwise you'd end up with a lot of little pieces. And we call those gaps bridges. They bridge the design together. And here what I'm doing is I'm crossing those bridges by tracing them in and filling them in so I get that nice shape, nice closed in shape. You're working your way around. And then we close the gaps, or we cross the bridges within the chakra art, filling in the circles, closing the petals. I designed this stencil so that the circles become the points where the petals touch. The bottom of the petals will touch the bottom inner circle, the top of the petals, the top one. And then again, using that straight edge to just finish off and tighten up the design of that inner six-pointed star. Then I measure from the center point to the corner to create the border for each of those four sides. You can see how quickly this comes together. You can get a design like this drawn up within 5 minutes or 7 minutes. It's pretty quick. And then the next part is the fun of adding color and pattern. You may even put in some journaling words in there. Work with any medium that you'd like. Play around, experiment. I mean, lately my thing has been drawing this on a watercolor paper and working with watercolors. But for a long time, I would work with colored pencils. Then I went through a marker phase. And even now, I may start with watercolor, but then I'll bring in colored pencils to do some more shading, or bring in some other different types of pens and markers and glitter pens. I mean, the options are just endless. I want to thank you for joining me. My name is Kathryn Costa from True North Arts, your instigator for soulful and creative living. I invite you to check out my YouTube channel. It is loaded with all kinds of videos to show you how to work with my stencils. There are so many different symbols and what they mean, whether you're curious to learn more about astrology or the chakras or traveling by moonlight. And I hope our paths cross again soon.